And a promising young junior welterweight in Antonio Diaz takes on a mystery man in Omar Weis of Santa Fe, Argentina. Weis 33 wins, but this is his first bout. And the den is Omar Weis of Santa Fe, Argentina. Weighed in at 140 pounds. He's the Argentinian junior welterweight champion. 33-1 with 16 knockouts. A very confident young man. You take a look at his last 5 opponents. They have 129 wins, 47 losses, a winning percentage of 70%. But all of his competition has been in Argentina, with the exception of one bout in Venezuela, and that was his only loss against Indio. Well, now the crowd here outdoor works their way into a frenzy. Each time Antonio Diaz fights here at the Fantasy Springs, the crowd gets bigger and bigger. He says he feels more pressure because of that. He said it was easier when he was younger because he felt that he didn't have to put on as great a show, but now he feels inspired in the pressure to please the hometown fans. 24 years of age, 31-2, 22 knockouts, 23 consecutive wins, 16 knockouts in that span. His last 5 opponents, a win percentage of 74%. He says that his performance against Ivan Robinson was the best of his career. He said everything he worked on in the gym manifested itself in the ring. Marty Denkin is our referee for tonight's main event. Unified rules will be used for this 12-round bout. They go as follows. No 3 knockdown rule, no standing 8 count. Fighter cannot be saved with a bell in any round. And accidental cuts still go to the scorecards after 4 rounds are complete. Well, Antonio Diaz is set to fight Mickey Ward in August. Irish Mickey Ward, is he looking past Omar Weis? He says no. He says he thought he had a fight with Costa Tszyu back in November. Remember, he fought Terrell Finger here on Friday Night Fights. Was down in the 2nd round. He says he was distracted. Wound up winning a 7-round knockout victory in the 7th round. He says this time he has learned from the past.
Good fighters learn from experience. You know what experience is? It's memory. That's what experience is.
So Omar Weis, fortunately for him, the temperatures have cooled. He is from Argentina. The knockout ratio, 47% for Weis, 67% for Diaz. Weis knocked out once. Now remember, Argentina is in the southern hemisphere. It is wintertime there. In Buenos Aires, it's about 41 degrees right now, 5 degrees Celsius. In Santa Fe, which is north of Buenos Aires, Weis tells us that the temperature is around 50 degrees right now, so a swing of some 45 degrees from his hometown to stepping into the ring. It's probably in the mid-90s at this point. But, Teddy, it's not nearly as bad as it was earlier, and I don't think it will be a factor at this point.
No, I don't think so. Depends, of course, how fast the pace the fight is, and if Diaz goes to the body a lot. Right now, you can see Weis trying to pick the right way to fight Diaz, a little bit of movement. Because if there's a problem or a flaw in the style of Diaz, it's having trouble with guys that move.
Marlon Thomas and Emmanuel Burton gave him some problems. Omar Weis arrived here in the United States for the first time in his life on Saturday. It was a 14-hour flight from Buenos Aires to Chicago, and then about 4 more hours from Chicago to LA, and the 90-minute drive to the Palm Springs area. So it's a long road. But he says, don't cry for me, Argentina.
Whenever I've had fighters fight abroad, overseas, usually when you can, 2 weeks is what you need to acclimate and get your feet under you. Anything less, it's tough.
1-2, 1-2.
Weis' style, the book on him is aggressive guy. Strong, likes to go to the body. You can see he's trying to change up here in this fight, knowing that he has Diaz, the best opponent he's ever fought. He's trying to move a little bit, trying to offset the power of Diaz, not let Diaz get set.
Not a big ring, 18 feet by 18 feet inside the ropes. Talking with Weis yesterday, very confident, very cocky. In fact, as we were filming some of the interviews, there was a fly buzzing around, and one of our cameramen actually caught the fly right in front of Weis's face, and as the fly hit the ground, Weis gave it the 10 count. Real loose.
You can see that he's awkwardly clever, as the boxing people would say. Moves his head, knows when to throw, knows when to step out.
Closing seconds of round one, a patient round for Diaz and Weis.
The Friday night fights, he tells me. Says, Bob, I never miss you guys.
Well, Jared, keep watching. Every Friday night. Place for all the boxing news and notes, highlights, Brian and Max, and all the action right here in the ring. Round two underway. Very good first round for Omar Weis. The number's not impressive for either guy, but the fact that coming into Diaz's backyard, Weis was able to handle the emotions that Diaz carried into that first round. Arguably round one, especially when you have two guys who know very little about each other, a feeling out type process.
I like what I see from Weis so far. Antonio might be in for a little bit more than a tune-up. I think Antonio is going to have to put pressure on, from what I've seen of Weis. He's going to have to put pressure on Weis. Go to that body, because Weis is pretty cute. Moves his head well, has a pretty good jab.
Asked Weis yesterday if he felt he needed a knockout to win. He said he didn't think so. He felt he could perform well enough to win a decision here in Indio against the hometown hero, Antonio Diaz.
I think the key to this fight, just my instincts tell me, is that Weis does not fade, that the heat doesn't get to him. Coming over here all the way from Argentina, the jet lag, that doesn't get to him, and that Diaz and the body punches don't get to him.
Marshall Walker, Robert Byrd, Frank Garza are the judges. Right hand over the top from Weis.
There's a little bit more maybe than Diaz expected. That's the problem with these tune-ups. You're looking, no matter what you say, you're looking forward to that fight in front of you. And in your mind, when you hear tune-up, or what's supposed to be a tune-up, there's a little letdown. No matter what, you're human.
Normally, I would think of a tune-up against a guy who's 20 and 12, not 33 and 1, and a national champion in his country as Weis scores with the right hand.
You're right. But they can look at a guy like Weis and say, all his fights over in Argentina is one loss. 33 of 34 fights in Argentina is one loss, was outside Argentina. Big difference over here. But right now, he's performing like a guy who's very serious about his opportunity here to move up in the ratings and to pull off a big upset.
WBC has Weis ranked 23rd, and so far, through the first two rounds, Omar Weis has found a home for that overhand right hand, and Antonio Diaz has to figure it out.
He's using that jab to set it up. Argentinian fighter with Weis, and there's some great Argentinian fighters. Carlos Monzon, maybe the greatest middleweight of all time. Victor Galenda's light heavyweight champion, and of course Oscar Bonavena was a terrific heavyweight.
Monzon had that streak, title defenses that Bernard Hopkins is after.
Yes, that's right. Hopkins is getting close.
Yeah, I think he needs one to tie Hagler and two to tie Monzon.
And Bernard Hopkins, an underrated fighter in some circles anyway, not with the boxing people though.
Teddy, through the first two rounds, and especially in round number two, Omar Weis able to land that right hand over the top. Why so effective?
He's using the jab and he's getting good range on it. Diaz is cooperating a little bit. Diaz is staying at the end of it, not moving his head, and the right hand is coming. You can hit a man with a jab, you can hit him with a right hand.
Weis shoots the left hand too. Teddy, we'll take a look at some numbers in round two, heavily in favor of Weis according to CompuBox. Landed and thrown. Teddy, you made an interesting point in between rounds 2 and 3 while we were away at commercial. Can Weis keep it up, though? That's the question.
To me, that's the whole ball of wax. And of course, that he doesn't get caught anything real clean.
Diaz launched the right hand.
See, Weis defensively is clever. He's a cutie.
You know, it's amazing because this is not a big ring, but Weis is making this 18-foot by 18-foot ring look a little bit bigger because of that movement.
Because of his cleverness. He just has to be careful if there's a kink in the armor of his defense. Sometimes he pulls back, Weis. He's got to be careful because Diaz has one of those hooks where he can catch a man stepping back. That's the kind of punch to throw when a man steps back. The hook, because it's long. You can catch the guy where he's gonna be, not where he is. This is where Diaz has to go to the body. Keep his hands free when he's inside.
Weis tried that right again. Diaz with a shoe shine to the body, missed the hook up top. Crowd will roar every time Diaz throws a punch that even comes close to landing. Weis trying to measure Diaz with that right. Hey, what can Diaz do to counter off that right hand when he sees it coming?
Well, one thing, he should slip to his left, Bob, make it miss, and then counter with that left hook. Then you have the man hanging out there in limbo. You have him vulnerable.
Closing seconds of round number 3. And Antonio Diaz has his hands full against Omar Weis through the first 3 rounds of this competition. Well,
that puts a little different twist when you look at that fight.
And Kamau sparred with De La Hoya as De La Hoya was getting ready for Trinidad. So he knows De La Hoya both in competitive action and in sparring. And he knows Mosley very well because he worked with him for about a year. And he says, David Kamau said to us, as Diaz starts to pepper on the inside, that if De La Hoya allows Mosley to stay on the inside, it could be a long night for Oscar. Through 3 rounds, you see Omar Weis has outlanded Antonio Diaz 43-17. And Teddy, right now he's controlling the tempo. There's a double left hook from Weis, the second one blocked.
The only problem is, like the old timers would tell you, title fights are not 3, 4, 5, or 6 rounds. You must do it for the distance. And that is going to be the key in this fight.
Well, this is for one of those minor titles, but it is still 12 rounds. And take a look at Teddy's scorecard through the first 3. Teddy, you have a shutout for Weis. I agree. Weis landed 15 jabs in the last round. So when he gets that jab going, he is very tough. And Diaz not making hay when he gets on the inside.
He's not punching. He's not rotating his shoulders, Diaz. He's allowing himself to be tied up. You know, one guy doesn't tie you up. It takes 2 to tango. You will usually allow yourself to be tied up. It's Diaz's job. He's having problems on the outside. It's definitely his job to work when he gets inside. That is obvious. And he's got to use that jab. Antonio's got to sway the balance of scales here with the jabs. Been having a lot of problems with the jab of Weis. He must use his own jab, Diaz.
I'm thinking ahead to a fight against Mickey Ward, and Ward's style might be better suited for Diaz rather than a guy like Weis who's working that jab and giving you the movements. Ward is more of a slugger, and Diaz has better luck against the sluggers.
Styles make fights, no doubt about it. So far now, this style for this right now for 4 rounds, this style is difficult for Diaz, though he's starting to close the gap a little bit better. And there's a cut now over the left eye. Looks pretty bad of Weis.
Now under the rules, they'll go to the scorecards after 4 rounds are complete if it's an accidental foul. And that is a brutal cut on the left eye of Omar Weis.
The cut occurred.
So referee Marty Denkin asked all 3 judges if they saw a butt. They said no. So that cut is ruled from a punch. So if this bout is stopped because of that cut, Diaz is going to get the win. It doesn't matter what the cards would say. It would be a TKO, as opposed to if that had been ruled a butt and we didn't see a punch that opened it up, they would go to the cards. And Teddy, you and I gave Weis the first 3 rounds. I don't know what you did in round 4.
I gave the 4th round to Diaz. Started to get his way a little bit, getting close, able to work more to the body. Distance is what Weis likes, because then he can be creative. He can make Diaz miss and make him pay.
Marcello De Croce is the cut man for Omar Weis. And that is right on the left eyebrow.
Of course, being that it's over the eye, it can affect his vision.
A little lead to hook half uppercut, and there's the jab.
And a good choice of punches for Weis because Diaz does lean forward coming in. That uppercut can be effective. Diaz is not doing enough right now when he does get close, Bob. And right now, Diaz is fighting a little bit like a frustrated guy. He's reaching, not now, but he was reaching before. Giving Weis the opportunities to counter like that.
Now, a lot of concern in the corner of Antonio Diaz as Weis rips a hook to the body, and Diaz scores with the combination. There's Lee Espinosa, the trainer of Antonio Diaz.
Diaz has a good chin. Even though he's been caught clean tonight, he's got a good, solid chin.
Well, Espinosa asks for an uppercut from Diaz, and instead Diaz gets tagged twice by Weis.
Being that Diaz has a good chin, I think this fight, as I said earlier, is going to come all down to whether or not Weis can keep it up and deal with the pressure of Diaz.
There's a little uppercut on the inside that found its mark. I have it 4 rounds to zip for Weis. I gave Weis the last round. Left hand by Diaz.
When Diaz finally gets in close, he needs to work and stay there. When he's outside, he has problems, as I said before.
Better round, though, for Antonio Diaz, but Omar Weis continues to pot shot with that cut over the left eye. He's come from Argentina, and he is giving the hometown hero all he can handle. Right now, I have it 5-zip in favor of Omar Weis.
Well, I gave the last round, no doubt about it, to Weis. I don't know what the judges are doing here in the neighborhood of Diaz. Let's be frank here. We are in Diaz territory. But that last round, I thought Weis did a magnificent job of picking his spots with accurate combinations.
And again, Diaz gets caught with an overhand right. You know, getting hit with that punch is one thing, but when it keeps bouncing off the side of your head, if it gets you in the temple, that could be it.
Even a guy with a good chin, if you catch him just right in the wrong spot, you're right. Things can happen.
See the numbers from round number 5. Weis with a 7-punch edge and connects.
I think if Weis does get hurt here, it's going to be to the body. That's where Diaz is going, because Weis is pretty slick. It's going to have to be to the body, or at least start with the body if Diaz is going to get something going. Unless he catches Weis stepping back. Because Weis does step back every once in a while, like I said earlier, where you can catch him with a hook, kind of step with him.
It's only his 2nd fight out of Argentina, his 1st fight in the United States, but Omar Weis has brought the goods. He's a 2-time national amateur champion from Argentina and a reigning Argentinian junior welterweight champion. Teddy, you have it 49-46. I have it 50-45. I suspect the judges' cards are closer to yours than mine in this fight. Remember, this is just a few miles away from Diaz's hometown.
Diaz must not. There's 2 things going on when they're in close. Weis wants to tie up and be able to get away with not having to work inside. Diaz has to work when he's inside. No doubt about it. Weis is king on the outside. Inside here, Diaz must work. But Weis is smart. He threw his punches and then moved around Diaz.
Diaz has abandoned his jab. He's not using his jab at all.
That's one of the reasons on the outside Weis has been so effective with his jab.
In fact, Diaz has landed just 6 jabs in the last 3 rounds, not counting this round.
And that's why Weis can counter with those uppercuts and the different punches that Diaz comes in. Weis doesn't have to worry about the jab. He has good sight. Look at him. He can see everything coming. He can pick his spots nice. That time Diaz tried to time Weis with the right hand. Watch for Diaz to look to time Weis when he's throwing an uppercut. Diaz sees that that uppercut's coming from too far away sometimes.
Weis missed with that right hand. Diaz countered and he widely misses. And there's the bell to end round. Busy on the last round. Most punches he's thrown in any round. Yeah, we are underway with round number 7. Remember, this is a 12-round bout. Is there any way to try to protect the cut like Weis has, to try to, you know, at least guard against it getting worse as the fight goes on? Obviously, if you dominate your guy, but in a close fight.
Well, one thing, you're a good defensive fighter. You allow the coagulants to have effect, to work. You have adrenaline, you have avitine, thrombin. Those are the things, the coagulants, the medications that are allowed to be used in the corner. You want them to have time to set in. Weis is the kind of defensive fighter usually will give it time. Also, you want to use that edge swell because you don't want the eye to start closing.
Let's listen in to Lee Espinosa now as his man is in the ring. And Lee, a lot tougher opponent than maybe anyone thought, huh?
But, I don't know. Antonio can't throw. I haven't seen him since a long time like this. I don't know what's happening here. He's not, you know, he should be motivated, like with all these fans here. But he just is too tight. He just can't let go of those hands. He's been counter, you know, they've been counter punching and everything. He ain't, you know, he's a lot fighter than what we're seeing right now.
Do you feel you're losing the fight right now?
Yeah, I told him already. This is the only round we got, and I try to, you know, motivate him in every way we can, and I can't wake him up. I slept him a little bit, and still can't wake him up.
Lee, did Antonio and you get to see any videotape? I know there probably wasn't much available, if any. Was there any videotape available?
No, we didn't watch nothing like this, but I hardly don't, you know, I hardly don't do that anyway. You know, me and we usually work on we know who the opponent is, and then we work on the first round, like right now. You know, that's where we work. Because,
but I guess the scouting reports didn't tell you that the guy was quite this cute, did they?
No. I thought he was, you know, he's real cute. But Antonio's making him look better.
All right, Lee, thank you. Best of luck.
Okay.
All right, well, you heard Lee Espinosa. He thought that the only round his guy has won is round 6.
Very honest.
So he feels that he's down 5-1. I don't know if the judges have seen it that way.
I don't know if the judges will be quite as honest, or, as you said, look at it quite the way that Lee did.
Well, the one good thing is there are 3 very respected judges in Marshall Walker, Robert Byrd, and Frank Garza. Guys with experience. And Teddy, do you get a sense that Weis might be burned down a little bit?
Yeah, but Diaz needs to take more advantage of it. Guys going downhill, give him a push.
Well, the corner of Diaz concerned. They had him losing 5 of the first 6 rounds as we hit the end of round 7. Omar Weis to put up the resistance that he has. Round number 8 underway, 12-rounder. According to Diaz's corner, Lee Espinosa, he felt that Weis won the first 5 rounds. In round number 6, Weis only landed 1 jab. It was a good round for Diaz. Round 7, very close. Could go either way. 11 of 54 for Weis, 10 of 61 for Diaz.
Weis from good bloodlines. His father was a boxer. So he's probably talked about moments like this many times at the dinner table. Your chance, your opportunity. Oh, it is his chance. It is his opportunity.
Weis was cut in round number 4. We could not find a scoring blow, nor could we really see a legitimate headbutt. But after the 2 were together, Weis came out rubbing his eye, and there was blood. The referee, Marty Denkin, checked with the judges, and they rule it a scoring blow. So if this bout does get stopped at some point because of that cut, they will not go to the cards. Diaz will just win by TKO. Teddy Atlas's scorecard through 7, 67-66. You have it 3 rounds for Diaz and 4 rounds for Weis. I have it 5-2 for Weis, 68-65. Right hand from Diaz. The left was glancing, but it did score.
There's one of the flaws defensively of Weis we talked about earlier, Bob, stepping straight back. It might not matter with a guy who doesn't throw a left hook, doesn't step with you, but it does matter with Antonio Diaz because he throws a left hook which can catch a man stepping back.
Now they caution Weis. Punches landed through the first 2 minutes of round 8, 13-3 in favor of Weis. Diaz landed the most telling of blows.
When Diaz has problems, it's when he stands outside in limbo, like he's doing right now, not doing anything. Allowing the jab to become effective by Weis. Diaz has to decide, use his jab, be consistent, work his way in, not allow the peppering done by Diaz, by Weis right now. And this is where he's got to make hay, work when he's inside.
Yeah, left hand and then a left to the body by Diaz. And that's the kind of thing that could enable him to steal the round.
Want another day?
Well, you know, it's cool now, the wind is blowing, but, you know, Omar Weis has been here in the Palm Springs area for a couple of days, and just when you go outside, the heat sucks some of the energy out of you.
You throw into the mix that this is a guy who didn't have a lot of days here to get over the long trip, and a guy who's not used to this kind of heat in his home country. You have a tough situation for Weis as the rounds get longer.
Punches in round 8. You see Weis landed 15 punches, 11 of 49 in the jab category. Diaz landed only 1 jab in the last round. In fact, through 8 rounds, Weis has landed 57 jabs to Diaz's 22. When Weis jabs and moves, Diaz has all kinds of problems.
And when Diaz cooperates with Weis to allow him to jab by standing outside in limbo, you don't know what to do, know what not to do. Antonio, don't stand there. Get out so the man can't work. Get to the side. But don't stand at the end of that jab like you're doing right now. If you're not going to jab, not going to work your way in, don't let your man do his work.
Teddy, there's a real frustration in the Diaz corner, obviously, because they had their guy losing the first 4 rounds, and you could make the case that he's lost 6 of the 8 rounds. It's sort of exasperating. And Diaz is fighting that way in a lot of respects.
And a little bit of not just frustration, but anxiety. You have a guy who you work very hard to get rated high. You have a big fight coming up. You're worried.
Diaz is ranked 7th by the WBA.
This is where Diaz was work. He got in. Now he's allowing himself to be tied up.
And
he allowed it.
And he's shaking his head. It's like he just doesn't have it in the tank. And unfortunately, it's not like baseball where you play 162 or basketball or hockey where you have 82-game seasons and you just chalk one up to a bad night and you take the loss and you get ready for the next one. I mean, boxing is huge.
We're dealing with human beings. They think it's going to be an easier fight than it turns out to be. It's hard to change gears in midstream. Diaz, when he's inside, must not allow himself to be tied up. Rotate his shoulders, he must punch.
But it's Weis who's trying to fight on the inside. Then he scores with a combination.
Weis is smart. He punched, kept Diaz defensive, and then tied him up.
Marty Denkin warning Weis not to use that shoulder to push off when he asked for a break.
And Weis is feeling the effects of the pressure and the fight. The only problem is Diaz is really not pushing it right to the level he should to make Weis really, really pay.
He'd be hard-pressed. Good right to the belly by Weis to give Diaz credit in this round as well. So, Teddy, not a lot of strategy there. More of a pep talk. So they get a sense that maybe their man is struggling a little bit. But with that said, he outlanded Diaz by 6 punches in the last round, and he threw 11 more. He was busier, and he landed the cleaner shots.
Look, he's doing what he has to do and what he's being allowed to do. One thing that has to be pointed out is I still think there were moments there. He might be getting his second win right now, Weis, but there were moments there where he was faltering, where he was feeling, whether it was the heat, the pressure, but he was fatiguing a little bit. The key was that Diaz, during those moments, Bob, did not quite step it up enough. And he could have missed his moment by not doing that. Although he'll get another opportunity, most likely. But he's going to have to really start moving those hands when he's inside now.
Well as Diaz fought against Ivan Robinson in his last time out on the undercard of Cortez Vargas. He is struggling mightily against Omar Weis.
Just noticed his second go on the outside. Diaz threw a left hand to the body. Weis dropped his right hand way down to block it. Wonder if Diaz will pick up on that. Fake the left hand to the body and bring the hook up top.
Right hand over the top again. Fought a lot of shoulder. You know, we always talk about the cut men, the ones that we know of in the state, like Al Gavin and so on and so forth. Well, Marcello De Croce, the cut man for Weis, has done a very good job on that left eye, which opened up in round 4.
Yes, he has. Still not quite enough work from Diaz. Maybe having a better round with the pressure this round, and Weis is slowed down a bit. Not using his jab as much, not taking advantage of the outside quite as much. But Diaz, when he gets inside, must pump those hands.
Right left, right left, right left.
Weis is starting to lean forward quite a bit on the inside.
Don't you lean on him, I'm going to take a point away.
Antonio might want to start looking for that uppercut.
Weis has been the busier of the two in this fight. He's averaging about 13 or 14 more punches thrown per round. He's had the edge in the CompuBox numbers. And really a nondescript round number 10. Not a lot of clean shots landed by each man. Well, when we return, Omar Weis will be fighting in an 11th round for the first time in his career.
My way. Weis might be doing some smart psychological lobbying there. Patting gloves with his man and making his man not feel like there's anything to be real mad about.
Round number 11 underway. This is the 7th time that Antonio Diaz has been past 10 rounds. Omar Weis has never been past 10 rounds in his career.
Might be a clever little move there. I've noticed Weis has been doing that almost every round. Touch gloves with Diaz. Hey, buddy.
Tell you, punch numbers in round 10. 17 to 55 for Weis, 7 to 48 for Diaz. 14 of those punches, though, were jabs. Diaz was 0 for 19. I like Diaz in the last round. I thought he landed the better shots.
He put pressure on, and it wasn't just so much what Diaz, you made a good point, nondescript round. It wasn't so much what Diaz did, it was what Weis did not do that last round.
Here's some power numbers through 10. Diaz 55 of 302, not a great percentage. Weis 56 of 219, a much better percentage. Teddy, your scorecard through 10. You're out Weis ahead 96-94. I have it 97-93 for Weis.
This is a good fight, Bob. Hope everybody's watching, because anytime you have a chance of having a big upset, and make no mistake about it, this would be a big upset. That's an intriguing fight.
Lunging left from the outside by Diaz score. They get tied up.
And Weis is starting to falter quite a bit now. Legs are starting to fall out from under him. He's starting to fall in a bit, Bob.
And he's doing a lot of holding.
And I think what Diaz needs to do is two things.
Oh, he's taking a point away for holding. That could be huge, because I doubt the judges' cards are as lopsided as my card is. And that could be big.
Yeah, it sure could be. That came kind of quick, too. Although he was holding the round before, there wasn't a lot of warnings about it.
And Diaz seems to have been inspired by that.
What I think Diaz should do, he's starting to get Weis to stand up, but since Weis is leaning forward so much, Diaz should give him room to lean forward, like he's trying to do now, and walk him into an uppercut. So you don't want to get frustrated and rush in with him, because then you got two wrestlers in there, and you don't take advantage of the guy leaning forward. Diaz should now allow Weis to lean forward. Give a little bit. Let Weis fall into an uppercut.
Probably Diaz's round, and Weis had a point deducted for holding. So make it a 2-point round for Antonio Diaz, and things suddenly getting tight as we head for the 12th and final round.
There's no doubt that there's grabbing there, and the referee decided to take a point away after he separated the two fighters. And as Bob said, that can be a huge point in this fight.
They'll make it a 10-8 round for Antonio Diaz, and that is huge. Denkin gets in the touch gloves. The 12th and final round underway. On my card, Diaz needs a knockdown to get a draw and win the round, and a knockout to win the fight.
Well, Diaz does not win this fight. I stand by what I said earlier, that there were moments when Weis started faltering a little bit, fatiguing, falling in. And there was a lot of grabbing. It cost him a point, cost Weis a point, but it should have cost him more. It should have cost him getting caught with some major punches. And he didn't get caught major punches because Diaz allowed them to both fall into each other.
Lunging left from Diaz after Weis scored with a combination. Teddy, you have it dead even through 11.
Now it looks like Weis is no longer faltering. He's got himself together for this last round, although Antonio is stepping it up. But Weis looks much fresher than he did the last 2 rounds.
First time in the United States, first time past 10 rounds.
Weis is not leaning forward now, not falling in. The opportunity, at least, to catch Weis leaning forward has been missed. Well, Antonio's doing what he has to do in this round. He's stepping it up. Part of the success of Antonio has been the fact that Weis has slowed down so much, too. It's not like Antonio's throwing a zillion punches. He has stepped it up, but Weis has really slowed down. Stop using that jab on the outside.
Well, the fans here in Indio trying to rally Antonio Diaz in this last round. Teddy, you have it dead even. I have Weis ahead by 2. Diaz is cornered by their own admission, had him losing the first 5, probably 6 of the first 8. 2-point deduction in round 11, a 1-point deduction in round 11, and a Diaz round made it a 2-point round for Diaz.
Good round here so far for Diaz, able to close the distance. When he can close the distance, he can land. One of the reasons he's closing the distance, no jab from Weis.
Weis's punch output is slowed, his accuracy is slow, he hasn't landed that overhand right. Diaz finishing stronger of the 2, and Diaz may have pulled a victory out of the jaws of defeat in the last seconds. There's the bell to end it. Omar Weis came from Argentina, said he could win. Has he upset Antonio Diaz in Diaz's hometown? And we are set. Antonio Diaz, how did he make out against Omar Weis, who had a very, very solid effort? Here are the total punch numbers. 156 of 676 for Weis, 105 of 689 in favor of Diaz. Teddy's scorecard, 114-113. I had it 114-113 for Weis. Danny Valdivia has the judges' scorecard.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the scores of the judges. Judge Frank Garza scored the bout 117-110. Judge Robert Bird scored the bout 117-110. Judge Marshall Walker scored the bout 116-111. All in favor of the winner by unanimous decision. And still IBA World Champion, Jose Antonio "Toño" Diaz.
Well, at least Diaz's corner was honest, Teddy. They had their guy losing 5 rounds and maybe 6.